All right, so welcome to week 4, day 1, and we're going to look a little bit at the results of your Misty Morning Hop assignment. We had to create a foggy village with some god rays, crepuscular rays as they're called, a little bit of fog, creating a mood. You know, the whole point of this assignment was to create mood, right? And we do mood in several different ways in video games. Music's important, sound effects are important, pacing's important, how long it's been since something scary's happened. You know, in a horror game, Left 4 Dead, for example, had a director that would have periods of intense excitement, then downtime, and then intense excitement, and it would vary these things kind of sporadically to create a sense of tension and horror in it. Obviously, none of that in this assignment, but yeah, very very well done with this. It's got like a little Viking, stave house kind of look on it. Bicycle, yeah, very nice, very nice. I like it. Fertilizer, yeah, cool. Yeah, and so I assume that you found assets for that and you didn't make it yourself. If you did make it yourself, let me know and I'll give you extra credit for that because that's a lot of work. A lot of you guys didn't rebuild your lighting. Lighting needs to be rebuilt, so might be missing some shadows and stuff like that as the result of it. But that looks nice. That looks quite nice. Yeah, this is a very bright and cheerful morning, right? This feeling here, like it feels like I'm ready to like get going for the day and split some timber and build some fences and stuff like that, right? This the mood of this is very cheerful and optimistic, right? And I understand that from just looking at the color of the sunlight, the color of the fog, and the beautiful scenery and stuff like that. It's a very well done thing. That spotlight's a little bit obvious, right? Like, you're walking around a medieval village and there's like, invisible spotlight on the wheelbarrow. Pick this up. Okay, thank you, game. Getting led by my nose, to go pick up this wheelbarrow, right? Yeah. But yeah, okay, sure. That's a spotlight. You got your god rays here. Usually, spotlight on the axe. Again, it's the kind of thing when you do that gamers go, okay, yeah, all right, it's like in RPGs when they put a giant glowing arrow bouncing up and down, like here's the quest item you need. People kind of go, all right, thanks for pointing it out to me, but a lot of games actually let you disable that kind of stuff. Disable map markers and stuff because it breaks immersion in a game. And when you're doing a role playing game, immersion is very important. Hello, girl. Yeah, so we're looking at the results of some students' work here. This is very nice. This is very nice. But I mean, the assignment was to put a spotlight on something, and you did it. And But do you guys see what I mean when I'm saying like this? It's very obvious that the game. It's a game. It's a video game, right? And so ideally, what you want is a situation where
you don't want it spotlighted.
No, you can spotlight it, but you make it subtle, And so if the person's looking around for the axe, like normally it would be in darkness, right? And they might miss it, and then they get frustrated if they can't find. Like if you're given a quest, go pick up the axe and go split some timber, and you can't find it, then people get really annoyed. And so having somewhere in between super obvious and super like invisible, in my opinion, is good game design. Because if you've ever looked at like where is let's see, was it Mankirk's wife? Right. If you ever played World of Warcraft on the on the Horde side, there's a quest where you have to find Mankirk's wife, and so many people had trouble finding it that it became a meme where you'd go into the Barrens and people were like, "Where's Mankirk's wife?" If video games have taught me anything, this cat has a side quest to offer me. Yeah. If video games have taught me anything, this cat has a side quest to offer me, right? Because there's a spotlight on it. It just needs a giant floating exclamation mark above its head. Am I streaming? I'm not streaming. Oh shoot. Okay. Dang. All right. There we go.
Start from the beginning.
Nah, they can see the images in the channel just as well as I can. Okay. So let's see what else we got here. Leal.
That's a better house than the one I made.
It's a better house than the one you made. So he actually, I think, built this himself. So that's the cobblestone texture, door, The trees don't really belong in a misty British village, but he actually went to the effort of modeling it himself. Again, I'd probably let the shaders compile first and rebuild the lighting before screenshotting it, but whatever. Yeah, so whenever you put something new in, it'll introduce shaders, and then it might take an hour, depending on how fast or slow your machine is for the shaders to get built, but it'll look different, it'll look better after they finish. You want to show off your world?
No, well, I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay. There's no picture in my feed. Who's had the Viking? Are you guys able to see it now? Can you guys see my feed? Yes, no? Okay. Who had the Viking? So the mains, that's a typical Viking stave house look.
Looks nice.
Change windows. I am on screen 2, right? Screen 2. Okay. So Viking stave house is that.
Looks nice.
Mm-hmm. So that look right there. It's a traditional Scandinavian look. That's what I'm pointing out on that. Although the overall look is more of like a Victorian house. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I was talking about the spotlight here, and the we got a spotlight here and a spotlight here. The one on the bench is actually reasonable. Like that doesn't. It
looks like it's floating.
It does. The trouble is there's no real shadow on it, and so he needed to rebuild shadows, I think, to cast a shadow on the ground. The god rays look good. Yeah. Overall, it's a very solid job. Vacalar's is pretty amazing. This is a. What do you think, Ada? The only trouble is, again, he didn't rebuild his shadows. Or actually, maybe he did. That's just a weird look of these weird stripes of shadows down here. And that's actually something that comes up all the time in video games, where if you don't have two surfaces perfectly touching, or there's a rounding error. If there's a rounding error, they might think that they're touching, but there's actually, the game engine will actually find a 0.01 centimeter gap between them and draw a really, really bright line. Like you have a wall inside of a castle, but the seams don't connect just perfectly. Then you look at the floor of the castle, and there's these lines everywhere the walls come together, and it's really distracting and really obvious because the human eye is drawn to edges. And in fact, that's what the IS-50B people are doing right now, is they're doing edge detection. So the IS-50B people are figuring out where edges are on an image, and the reason for that is because the human eye is drawn to edges. Like we're drawn to that edge there, that edge there. That's how we recognize shapes. By their outlines usually, and so that outline there. And so when you do filmmaking, you have to be very conscious of edges. Like the doorway here would be very obvious, And if I was filming this, I'd probably close the door to try and make that edge less obvious. It is going to go close it now. But this is a great line. This is a great shot. Just there are these weird lines on the hillside and these lines here. And the water is really ripply, and so the human eye is also drawn to patterns like that, and so when you see a repeating pattern like that, it's kind of distracting as well. But the overall look is really good. Vacalar. So Lave also uses
house on fire?
Invisible palm trees. It's on fire. The shaders are still compiling on this one, and the lighting needs to be rebuilt on this one as well. So a little bit distracting. Looks like he did make his own house. That's good. He added a particle effect, which is good. But like these palm trees are half invisible. And so I think maybe if the shaders had finished compiling, it would have drawn. But at the same time, palm trees aren't a British village exactly. Maybe it's a British colony in the Caribbean or something. So they did send a lot of people to the sugar plantations nice. To be slaves. Yay, England. We got a lot of slavery.
Do you think he did this yesterday because that's when we downloaded the flowers?
I maybe he did, but yeah, these flowers are kind of missing parts too, as well. So if you guys are gonna do screenshots,
maybe they're not even flowers.
Just wait for the shaders to compile first. They'll probably look a little bit better. They look like plants of some sort. Yeah, they could have used any assets for that.
They're purple.
So this one, they are purple. Yeah. So this one is the fog is a little bit red which is a little bit distracting to me. The trees are nice, I guess. I probably would put a few more trees in here.
The trees are nice.
Yeah, the trees are nice, but the overall redness of the fog is a little bit distracting on this one. And it's a good choice of an asset for the church as well. Stafford's got his model that he put back in there as well. He's got this saloon and general store, which is exactly Victorian or sorry medieval London, but yeah, whatever. So yeah, this is like a Wild West saloon, which.
The floor, you can see those patterns.
Yeah, and yeah, do you guys see that tiling pattern there as well on the floor? Backface cooling, yeah. Edge protection, vectorization, raster images, yeah. Conifers took forever to download stuff, yeah. 1870s England, yeah. All right, so where was I here? Yeah. This is you downloaded the Wild West asset pack, right?
I think mine didn't. Doesn't look as good as any of those because I did it from scratch of blocks.
Yeah, it's okay.
Block.
And so if you look at the floor here, you see the tiling pattern on the texture, and so yeah, the human eye again is drawn to patterns, and so the floor looks really distracting for that reason. But you can see that it actually has this random pattern on top of it, and so if this is actually one of the default textures, it probably actually has different scale levels of texture, so that when you zoom in and zoom out, it'll actually apply different. You can see the dirt patterns aren't tiling also. So you got the dirt pattern, the light pattern, and the green, but for some reason you're getting these weird little things here. So I'd probably scale the material a little bit differently. Yeah, he's screenshotting just his browser view. Yeah, probably I would have just hit play and then screenshotted the inside of the world, so you won't have these distracting lines as well.
That doesn't. But what matters is the game, not the photo. What matters is the game, not the photo.
You built yours from scratch. Relevant to England assets showed up on the monthly free stuff. That's funny. Span built his from scratch. Okay, yeah, nice. So, yeah, he took the time and effort to be a diligent student. We got some plants. We got a sidewalk.
No, mine looks worse than that.
It's okay.
The
fog.
I literally made it from scratch with a bunch of blocks putting it together.
The fog is yeah, that's a thick fog, right? That's good. This one, the fog is too red and orange, kind of. So almost looks like
he's stuck in a blizzard. That's good.
Yeah, it's got a feeling of like dawn, like that sort of reddish glow at dawn, but it's not quite right. And so
it's still good. It's like a nice little city.
I don't see any god rays in that as well.
Right there.
You see god rays?
Right there.
You see god rays? Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, there it is. Maybe. Okay. And then we got some buildings, and we got it's a snow-covered village. Yeah, solid. Just the color is a little bit. I'm just being picky here, by the way. I gave you an A on it. Same thing for here. Like this
looks like a museum.
Yeah, it's a very
gloomy.
It's a very yellowish fog, right?
It's gloomy.
Like if you were to be walking outside, you'd expect to die, right? Especially in a video game, if you see greens and yellows that are like this, like it generally is a clue to the player that it's poison, right? This would usually mean it's a poisonous atmosphere.
Oh,
right?
he did what I did. He made stairs for escaping the world.
Mm-hmm. And so
well,
it's a very bright yellow. It might be the result of the emissive lights here, coloring the fog yellow. So I probably would have.
That can happen.
It can happen.
Or
yeah.
people are using coal in their fires.
It can, yeah. And so if it's a London fog where the killing fog rolls in, it's basically coal pollution that kills people. Yeah.
It keeps you warm.
Then Munkers
Ooh,
has
that's
a
nice.
windmill. Yeah, that is nice. I like that. It's cool. And you got the glow coming off the lights here. Again, standing a little bit. Oh, he's got some butterflies. Got a fireplace. Got some smoke effects coming up here. Got the god rays coming in here. Yeah, it's nice. The yellow is a little bit overwhelming in this area here.
It looks like it's more like it's supposed to be night.
It's supposed to be night. It's kind of like...
Yeah, it's almost night, looks like.
But the sun's going down, and so I probably would have tinted it. It's a little bit of a sunset going on there, but the sun's kind of the wrong color for a sunset.
I know I shouldn't be judging with this, but
no,
it just looks
judge.
No, just like the sticks. It just looks kind of. But that's not what you're judging someone on. So.
Yeah, this is well done. This is well done. Yeah, I'm being overly picky because I want to see. I want you guys to see how I think about video games when I look at them. Yeah, this one's too yellow also.
It could be night.
Could yeah. It's yeah. Yeah, this is the same one, right? Yeah. So the overall it's good. You know, good job on building the village and stuff like that. Just pay careful attention to the your palette, right? The colors that you have in a video game are very important. Most video game companies will actually sit down and establish a palette for the scene or for the world or for the level, whatever it is. So like in Destiny, each planet has its own palette. In Call of Duty, the palette is going to be browns and grays usually. If you are in Overwatch has a lot of...
It's the bank. It's a bank.
Yeah, it's good. No, he did a good job.
Room.
He did a good job. I'm just being picky about the colors right now. It's a very, very solid job.
It could be.
Put a lot of work into it.
Just think of it as people using coal in their fires.
And so Overwatch has a lot of like bright whites, blues, and reds and things like that. Yeah, solid. Very, very nicely done. Very nicely done. Yeah.
Are you sure this is made by one of your students?
I'm pretty sure it's made by one of my students.
Is this made?
She put together a movie for it. It's very nice. It's very nice. Yeah. A lot of effort put in that one. It's foggy. You got lights, and you can see the lights are kind of glowing a little bit in the fog. A deer. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Good job. Okay. So my daughter gives a thumbs up on that. Yeah, so you can actually look up, if you just kind of defocus your eyes a little bit, you can kind of see what the color palette of your guys' different screenshots are, right? And it's something you want to think deliberately about. Color palette for Blizzard Overwatch. Let's see if we can find this. There's actually websites where you can Overwatch color palette. Okay. Yeah. Right. So they will pick a set of colors as the palette, and that's let's see, what is that? No. And then they'll reuse those colors throughout the level, right? And so they'll pick, they'll pick a set of colors, and that's, when you're in the Egyptian level here, you see how there's a lot of golds and browns and things like that, and everywhere you look, it's all the buildings kind of match the palette on it. There's websites you can go to where you can see the color palettes for different video games, and that sets mood as well. Okay, so the when you make a video game, even if you're not a color person, I'm not a color person, right? Where you're an artist and you think about that kind of stuff, you need to at least have an idea of it, because color sets mood, and it's very important that everything coordinates together. Your sound, your music, your gameplay, everything needs to coordinate to a unified purpose when you make a video game. Mustard gas, what I do is hacky. You may not planet with a Venus-like atmosphere. Hazy fog's an indicator of poison since the olden days of gaming. Wrong sunlight color. The fog was white. Yeah. Coal keeps the body warm and the lungs full. Yeah. Their game devs who require machine calibration and tuning. Yeah, especially when you're doing development, it's actually important when you're doing development, your monitor is actually calibrated properly. Because if you play with your color settings, then you might actually be developing with a different color palette than the people that are going to play it, and they're going to be like, "Why is this game so pink?" You know. So, Matrix deliberately adds a green tint to everything. Yeah, and Doom is a lot of red. It's you know, one of the you know, more racist things in Hollywood is let's see. Hollywood, Middle East, brown tint. So basically, they'll clue people in that they're in a bad part of the world by just making everything very drab and brown. They do that for India as well, for some reason. Hollywood, brown tint. As if, you know, I don't know what we're looking at here. Movies set in Baghdad. How do you spell Baghdad? There you go. In Iraq. Okay. And so, you know, that color scheme, right? You see how, like, every time you're in the Middle East, it just adds like a brown tint to everything, right? That's Hollywood's cue that you're in the Middle East, because everything is always brown, apparently. You know, there's always a dust storm. You know, there's always a haboob blowing. You see that? Like, it's just that's the palette they use to indicate the Middle East, and you know, it's probably more than a little bit racist. And then some modern movies, they add this kind of like a monochrome gray and brown thing, where it's more classy, and they kind of wash out the colors a little bit, and it's all deliberate, right? This isn't how they're filming it. They actually will sit there and they will, you know, it's part of the art direction, right? That, you know, I don't know, is it Three Kings maybe? Right. Okay. So yeah, that's Hollywood's way of saying you're in the Middle East now. Everything's brown, and it's like, cool, you know, awesome. What color is a peaceful fog or sun? So this background right here, right? This would be a peaceful day. So what colors do you guys see? This is my current wallpaper engine background for the day. So what colors do you see in this palette here? You know, describe it to me. There's 4 predominant colors maybe in this palette, and this is very common for the peaceful mountain, forest, village, you know, kind of scene. Green, white, bronze. Okay, yeah. Blue and green, bronze, bluish gray, greens, and someone smoking. Right. So Wallpaper Engine will do animations, right? And so it actually has some God rays here. The God rays aren't accurate because they're going sideways like this. And the sun is obviously, let's see, which way is it on? Yeah, there. Yeah. The image is mirrored. So whatever. In the top corner of the screen, you can see up here the sun is, right, because you can see which direction the sunlight's coming from. By the way, it's hitting the leaves here. It's kind of up here, but the God rays are sideways. So the God rays are made as if the sun is over here, which is a mistake on the Wallpaper Engine editor's part, because the fog and God rays are added on top of the image. So basically there's an image, and then Wallpaper Engine puts an effect on top of it. So greens and someone smoking, white, black, green, brown. I wonder if they even have a fire permit. Shaking my head. Yeah, get some rangers mad at you for that. But yeah, that's you guys got it. So that kind of glowing gray, by the way, the mist, the glowing mist, is a very common thing to use to indicate peacefulness. So that's kind of what I was trying to get at with the assignment that I gave you guys, where if you have sunlight shining through mist, depending on how you do it and the intensity, it can either be gloomy and like sad and wet and depressing and clammy, or it can be this kind of peaceful village like the one with the spotlights that we looked at earlier. And then yeah, you got greens, you got browns and bronze, as Stephanie put it. So you got light green, brown, and probably a bit of bronze in there as well for the dead leaves. And so that's a very common forest scene color palette to pick. And if you were to go from this to like let's say this is the background, and then something popped up, on top of it that looked like this, you'd just be like what? Yo, listen. like what the hell is going on here? It's the wrong palette, right? You got, Eiffel 65's "I'm Blue" song, right? These blue characters, just the color palette just doesn't match. And so you have to just be conscious of that. You don't have to be an art person, but I just want you to develop this kind of critical awareness of like thinking about colors as like not something that happens by accident, but by choice. And in every video game that's worth its salt, every movie that's worth its salt, you have people that are sitting there looking at palettes and looking at what mood they create for people and stuff like that. It all has to coordinate together. Okay, 90s CG, yeah. So let's talk about your game proposals right now, and then we'll get to more Unreal Engine stuff. We got a lot of stuff to do. So grade pitch document. All right. Afternoon, Maine, Shaw, Ramos. In the not so old West, game known as Sidewinders on the Run. Okay, this is a story. Okay, so you got a secret Hitler going on kind of thing. So like a Battlestar Galactica mechanic where one person on the team is not on your team actually. Only 3 more people left. Work together as a team. Core mechanic is social deception. Player select at random is to slow down the other people not dying. Others people are sleeping. So it's like a werewolf game then. Okay. That's right. Outcast, or if they all die, time is limited. Okay, so it's basically werewolf with a somewhat cooperative aspect, with the rat having to help at least get food, and but having different victory conditions. Okay, yep, that actually sounds good. So you guys will now need to make that in Tabletop Simulator. Alright, so Pellegrino, Haber, and Mincarelli, X Factors on our racing board, the league racing through your mind all day. Ha 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 ha. Thrilling gameplay offers multiple vehicles to. Is that an OBS logo in the taskbar? Yes. Yeah, I'm using OBS right now. Thrilling multiple vehicles racing. Okay, so we got a hook. Strategy card game dice rolling luck. Each server begins with a base model. Mini races take place under pavement. Upgrades, prizes, Leland and Spike Strip. On your side. Okay, so unique game mechanics. Trap players by changing the position of track tiles, having multiple track layouts, upgrade cards. Okay, all right. Yeah, that sounds good. There's quite a few racer games, like Formula Day is probably the most famous. The Great Space Race is actually a game that I really enjoy. That is out of print, like you can't find a copy of it anywhere. Yeah, but the Great Space Race is really neat. You basically have a oval-shaped track, and you're all in spaceships, and you're racing around the oval-shaped track, like 3 laps or something like that. But you can leave mines behind, and so like if you cut in front of somebody, You drop mines in front of them, and then they might run into it and take damage and stuff like that. But what makes the game interesting is you have cards, and the cards show what movements you can take. Like one of them is move forward 2 and then diagonally up 1, and another one is like move forward 2 and then either choose to go left and right 2. You know, and so each person has a different speed that indicates what order they go in, and you can shift gears and go faster. But then you know, there's all these rules for it. It's really well done. So you might want to look at some of those old racing games for strategy, 1 to 3 laps per game. PvP. So yeah, moving tiles around would be an interesting twist on that. So yeah, okay. So you guys will need to do that in Tabletop Simulator, and we'll make that due in a couple weeks, I think, 2 weeks from now, maybe. Span and Hernandez, Starflight, Crash Landing, and Monkers. And Stafford. Okay, whatever. I can tell the assignment is pitch a video game or board game, so you went with a video game. No, this is for a board game. It's for a board game. So let's see here. Gathering. You could probably do this in a board game. What is combat? Crafting upgrade system. Okay. Fighting range. Yeah, this is way too big to do in a couple weeks. Why don't you guys resubmit that to me by next Thursday and scale it down to something that's doable by you guys in a couple weeks for a board game. Okay. Lave, Vacalar, and Gross. Unpredictable orangutan, a card game that's zoo themed, to which the zookeepers have to find a way to survive. We'll take care of the animals. Most dangerous game in the animal is humans. Oh wait, no, the orangutan. Sorry. Okay, your superheroes of a violent zoo. Okay, all right. Animals injure each other. They're dangerous, but the orangutan is the most unpredictable. Whether it's fun is the responsibilities of a zookeeper. General upkeep, surviving the onslaught of orangutans. Okay, feeding the animals, cleaning their homes, taking care. Dealing with the orangutans, they'll beat you, make you quit your job. Okay. Core mechanics, healing, feeding, not losing all your hit points. Start with 5 cards. You have to draw from a deck and must take care of the event. If you pull an item card, so it's like a Munchkin then. If it's an animal card, you must take care of it, or if you don't, you take the hit. Yeah, that doesn't go into what makes it a unique. This doesn't go into like really what makes the mechanics unique. Having 5 cards and drawing a card is, you know, a fairly standard game mechanic. And roll in turn to avoid the gaze of the orangutan. When a misdirection card is placed, the person with the lowest roll takes the hit. Your zookeeper has 5 bodily injuries. Once 5, you quit. Main life-saving item is bandages. Okay, alright. Okay, I can see that. Okay. So it feels to me a lot like Munchkin, but okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right, give that a shot. See how it works out. Reyes and Weaver didn't submit anything, so that'd be a 0. Scherer. Is she here right now? Nope. Okay. Card game around cats, funny artwork, 2 to 6 players. Munchkin meets MTG. Okay. 2 to 6 players, runs pretty fast paced. You're supposed to spell meow with the same count on each card 3 times. First person to do so wins. Okay, so you're making a set of 3 cats, basically. Okay. Each card has a given effect. Chance. So this feels to me like the Murder of Crows game that she played in the game review thing. Okay, chance mechanic. Matching and set collection. Solitaire. So you've got 11 sets, 4 suits. Okay. Okay. Yeah. The real question is how the player interaction works, right? If you're trying to play cards, down in front of you that are going to make a set, and other people can steal them and things like that, like it'd be really, like that's the most important mechanic, right? Is how you actually, because it's just random. You're just playing cards and you just spell something, you win. Skip an opponent's turn, draw another card, discard one of their cards. So if you're discarding on a quarter of the cards, then it's gonna be pretty brutal. Swap hands. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I will. And then what are the 4, 5 wild cards? Okay. And they discard their hand. Oof. I don't know about that. That's pretty brutal. That's a really brutal effect. Yeah, I would be careful. I would be careful with discarding. I'd be careful with discarding their letters, because they're going to save those and play them to knock them out when they get to 3 cards, right? Skipping a turn is also pretty brutal, and swapping hands is also brutal. So it's a really kind of unfriendly game. You can try it, Miss Cher. Like, you can try it. My gut suspicion is that it's not going to be very fun for families, because you're going to just be forcing people to discard their hands and stealing their cards and stuff like that left and right. I would maybe try and think about having effects that are less drastic than just like stealing their entire hand, discarding their entire hand, things like that, right? Because you start with, was it 5 cards you said? Or maybe I'm thinking of the other one. Yeah, maybe not. So. I would.
What is meow?
That's the name of the game she's proposed. So I would maybe, think about those effects and play it with your parents, and see how that works out in practice. But my main thing to watch out for is if it's fun or not, and you might want to think of different effects for the meow. But yeah, I'll approve it for now. So go ahead and make that in Tabletop Simulator. And what do we got here? Okay. So Rivera is doing it now. All right. Well. All right. I'll clear the thing for now. Okay. So let's get into Unreal Engine. I'm going to put up the assignment. You guys are going to have 2 weeks from today to actually implement your proposal. I'm going to show them what you made. Yes. So let me pull up thing again. Window projection. There we go. All right. So somebody said that there was something for England in the free marketplace. Let's take a look at that right now. Free for the month.
That looks like Cyberpunk 2077.
It does, but like in a really pixelated way. Bossy enemy animation pack. All right, add to cart. Supermarket, add to cart. Industrial area hangar, add to cart. Winter forest. Oh, that would have been nice for your project, yeah. Stylized modular character, add to cart. Okay. And then go to the cart. Well, let me check out. Check out, yes. Good. Marketplace is working again. And so.
Why are you buying all that?
I'm not. It's free. 0. So normally it would have been $140. Today it is 0. So just every month I check in and usually pick up the free assets.
100% off. You don't want to pay any. If someone ever pays something 100% off, like, it's going to be kind of.
So there is a new engine version available. I'm not going to worry about it for now. Update it later. So let's go ahead and get into our projects.
Okay. Can I?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Just bug fixes. Okay. Her face when everything was free. Yeah, so one thing you guys will probably encounter is that you'll have an idea that doesn't work out. You think something's going to be fun, and hang on, babe. You have an idea for your game. You think it's going to be fun, and you play test it, and it's not fun. But you're like, oh, I don't know if I should still do it because we promised it to Kearney, and the answer is just message me. Just be like, hey, we.
But you're not streaming the screen though.
I'm not streaming that screen. Just wait.
Okay.
Just wait.
Yeah, I'm just walking around while you currently.
So basically, if you're going to adjust the scope of the project, just message me. And that one group that had way too much in the game design, just go ahead and resubmit to me, because that will 100% kill you guys trying to do that in a board game, or in a video game for that matter at this point in your career. So these board games don't have to be super fancy. You don't have to make really detailed boards and things like that. But if you go into the Tabletop Simulator, here, Ada, I need my mouse. Ada, I need my mouse. Okay. I need my mouse. Thank you. So if you guys go into Tabletop Simulator, there are the white box has, which is a great thing to pick up in real life. Actually, it comes with a collection of essays on board game design, play game. It comes with a great collection of essays on not just board game design, but also how to publish a board game, how to actually make money making board games and things like that. So if any of you guys are authors, there's always these books on how to be an author. It's like how to get published and the author's guides and things like that. And so the white box has essays on like how to, basically make a demo of your game, take it to the trade conventions, talk to game publishers, things like that. Be aware that most board games never take off, just like error Steam create lobby. Ew, what's going on here?
What?
It's not letting me create a game. Weird. Okay, I'll do single player then. It might be because I reformatted my computer, and who knows what happened. So what was I going to show? Oh, the white box. So the white box is there's a Steam Workshop version of it. I don't know if it's legal or not. I didn't ask or find out. But basically, it has a bunch of tokens and pieces and things like that you can use to make your board games. And so Tabletop Simulator does too. But
the original one.
Yeah, this is actually a box. You can buy it. I think the Crazy Squirrel sells it in town. And at least that's where I got my copy from. And so in real life, you can actually buy it. And it comes with dice and tokens and things like that, and essays on board game design. You can actually make your own board game using it. I actually kind of designed what I think is kind of a fun board game using the white box pieces. Maybe I'll make it on Tabletop Simulator and we can play it together. I don't know. It's called Spellmaker Horde Breaker, where the notion is you build spells and fight off waves of enemies and things like that. So you're all wizards competing together to defeat to defeat the horde and defend your citadel.
Is this the horde or is this the horde?
Nothing. These are just pieces. But yeah. So basically pieces come in, and then you upgrade your spells over time to increase the radius of fireballs and have them chained together and stuff like that. And yeah. So that's my board game idea. And so you can use these pieces, or you can just make your own. But you're going to be flip. No, they're all on the table.
Is this why it's called tabletop?
That's why it's Tabletop Simulator. Yeah. So so you guys will make it in Tabletop Simulator. You have 2 weeks from today to finish it, and then we will do a little gallery walk here, and each group will present their games, and we'll take a look at it. Okay. And so it's always fun. It's always fun. And if there's some like lethal problem in your game design, then basically I'll present my criticisms of it, and then you can fix it usually. Can you show off to them? Let me see if the students have any questions yet. COVID is stress testing the back end stability. Steam's down for a lot of people right now. Great, that's cool. To be fair, we thought the 30 pitch mistakes vids suggested video game mechanics. No, it's just for pitching things in general. And one of the things, I forgot to mention this before, is the notion of an elevator pitch. And so an elevator pitch is the notion that you're in an elevator with your boss, like you're working for a big corporation. You enter the skyscraper lobby and you walk into the elevator, and guess what? The CEO of the corporation walks in with you, and you've got the amount of time to go from ground floor to floor 10 or whatever he's on, maybe floor 40, who knows, to be like, hey, boss, I got this cool idea for something. It's like, really? What is it? That's the amount of time you have to pitch your idea. That's why it's called an elevator pitch. You've got a really short amount of time to get somebody excited about your idea, and also to have them understand what it is. So I'm like, all right, get this. It's StarCraft meets Twitter. So it's a strategy game in which people tweet where the moves should go, and you can have thousands of people playing the game at once, building things, and whoever tweets, which way a thing should move the most, that's the direction it moves. And so it's like this mass coordinating campaign. You got, maybe it could be this giant world, and people are all just tweeting things left and right, trying to make moves and coordinating things and stuff like that. And ding, and the doorbell opens, and he's like, "Great idea. Here's my business card." And write up a 1 or 2 page paper. I'd like to hear more about it. And then he walks out. That's an elevator pitch. And so you've got Twitch plays Pokemon, right? And so that would be an example of an elevator pitch. You've got a minute, if that. And usually an elevator pitch in text format's like 2 or 3 sentences. Like, describe to me your game, make it exciting, and let me know at least the nutshell of how it's going to work. And get people excited by it, and also have a good idea of what it's about. So they can be the hook, right? And so a lot of you guys, your elevator pitch was like, imagine you're in the Wild West and there's a gang of outlaws that are on the run from the law. That's not actually an elevator pitch, right? Because your boss is like, I don't know what you're pitching me. Right? Okay. Wild West. What? And a lot of people do that exposition thing too much. Instead, an elevator pitch would be like, okay, it's werewolf in a Wild West setting, where it's werewolf meets Battlestar Galactica in a Wild West setting, partly cooperative, partly competitive, and a little bit of a little twist. It's kind of a new twist on the werewolf approach, and if that didn't sound exciting enough, then that's something that your game document should update, right? Like, to figure out how it's different from werewolf. Right. Okay. So the narrative that several of the groups did isn't an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is, I need to understand immediately what you're doing with your game and why it's fun and why it's interesting. Okay. You must handle buzzwords gracefully. Yeah, usually, if you use a buzzword, that's fine. If all you do is buzzwords, then there's nothing that separates you from anyone else. So if you're like, we're going to use machine learning and blockchains, yeah, it's like, so is everyone else. What the hell are you talking about? I know, girl. I know. They need to understand this stuff. When you're pitching something, buzzwords are important because they can compress a huge field into one word, right? We're gonna use Twitch. We're gonna use Twitter to control military units in StarCraft, right? That you don't have to explain what Twitch is. You don't have to explain what Twitter is. They know, right? But the point is to be able to focus with a laser beam intensity on what your game pitch is, and what makes it different from other people. I don't think anyone's ever done Twitter plays an MMO RPG before, right? Or have a game based on that concept. I don't think anyone's done it. They have MMORPGs and they have, StarCraft, obviously. Like, the individual, and Twitter obviously exists. The components are all there, but nobody's combined them together in that way before. And so that's an interesting idea, I think, at least. I think it'd be horrible, but, because I hate Twitter with a passion. But, like, if you're pitching that to, your boss at Blizzard or something, like, all right, let's set up a meeting and you can do a whole hour-long presentation on it, or a 15-minute long presentation on it, maybe more likely. Okay. So, yeah, buzzwords are fine. Just don't go overboard on them, or you'll just sound like you're just one of these marketing people that are just parroting buzzwords without knowing what they mean. Okay, so my daughter is now going to show you her level. Okay, here we go.
Can I?
Yeah, and here we are.
Wait.
Huh?
Please.
What? What?
Wait. Can.
What are you doing? Just walk around. Show them your world.
Okay. With this, I'm going to turn on physics.
On the floor? They've already seen that, girl.
No. I'm going to. reveal to them a new world.
So she built a world beneath the world, so the floor will collapse.
I'm trying to make it a secret vacation area.
There are games that ended up good, but were originally thought by industry big shots to be lackluster ideas. Yeah, it happens. Like the industry looks at what everyone else is doing.
What's this?
What is this? I don't know.
It's glass. Yay! Woohoo!
And then you can see the yeah, and so typically people in industry will look at what other people are doing, and then they will copy it. That's how the game industry works by and large. It's very derivative. Big companies especially are very risk adverse. Like it was big news when like EA is like, we're gonna do our first new IP in 10 years when they came out with Mirror's Edge, and Mirror's Edge did okay. But then they ended up making a few sequels, and I guess it's a thing now. They have their own Mirror's Edge IP, intellectual property now. But like, whoa, wow, that guy went flying. But like, yeah, it's a very derivative industry where people will look at ideas that other people have. Like Battle Royale wasn't a thing very long ago, right? Then all of a sudden everybody was making Battle Royale games. Age of Empires has Battle Royale mode now, right? Path of Exile did Battle Royale as an April Fool's joke.
It feels like those are gigantic.
They literally built a Battle Royale 100-person PvP mode into a Diablo-style game just as an April Fool's joke, and then they got rid of it just to show that they could be trendy and cool like everyone else. So, innovation is risky. Doing the same thing over and over is easy money. Yeah. Come out with another Madden. Come out with another FIFA. Come out with another FIFA or whatever it's pronounced. They're all terrible games. I don't play them. I mean, they're not terrible, but it's just not interesting to me to just keep playing the same game over and over again, you know? Call of Duty 900. Okay, whatever. So, you know, and even if they do a game over and over again, as long as they're innovative, then it doesn't bother me. Like, you know, Skyrim is substantially different from Daggerfall, which is substantially different from Morrowind, which is substantially different from Oblivion. Like, they're different games. You can argue, and I think people have argued successfully, hit end, and it'll drop down to the table. Hit end, and then it'll snap down. You know, that Bethesda's been dumbing down their games, and they have. Like, the GDC talks that they've given are like, yeah, we're our philosophy is keep it simple, stupid. And the trouble is that when you keep it simple too much, then your games become boring, right? Or they become uninteresting. Like, the game design is a lot less interesting in Skyrim than it is in Oblivion. See how you didn't snap those two down, Bill? You have to hit escape or end. Yeah, hit escape, then end, and then click on the other one. Click on that one, the Holy Grail. Click on it, and hit end. There you go. It'll snap them down. You know, and so as if you make it too simple, then the games become boring, right? And so, yeah, okay. Bethesda's simplicity is attractive to modders, true. Yeah, and unfortunately, I think that they're just leaving a lot of the interestingness in the game to modders. But the trouble is that the modding in Skyrim is limited. There's actually their modding toolkit doesn't allow you to make a new spell, right? Which it's you know, and so people had to go to fairly extreme measures to get new spells added to Skyrim, right? You actually have to hook into the executable and modify the executable in real time in order to get new spells to work in it, because their mod set just doesn't allow it. So we'll do modding in a little bit, and you guys can mod Skyrim if you want. The DS, the 3DS, Nintendo made the same version of Super Mario Brothers across 3 platforms: Wii U, and Switch. So a system from 2004 is the same game as a system from 2017. Yeah, and then they have the emulators as well. Like the Wii has an emulator for the NES and the SNES, and the Wii U has a different set of emulators, and the Switch has a different set of emulators, which is honestly a bizarre decision.
It just feels so far as like a feather.
Mm-hmm. It's just bizarre that they wouldn't support the same games. Like, the Switch supports not the same games as the Wii. So if you want to play this old NES game, you have to buy a Wii still if you want to play it. It's which is just really weird. And they charge a lot of money for the old games too, which is also really weird because you can go out there and buy the original Super Mario Brothers probably for like a couple bucks, right? Have the cartridge and play it on the old school NES if you want. So, okay, so here we go. All right, so one thing that I noted with a few of you guys is that you didn't build the lighting, and my daughter didn't either. That's fine. So remember, go up here to build. I choose medium most of the time. Build lighting, and then this is going to redo the shadows in the world. I'll always support just using P simulators. Yeah, because they don't keep charging you for the same game over and over again, right? Like if you buy Super Mario Brothers for the Wii, you have to buy it again for the Switch. And I already own Super Mario Brothers twice, right? So it's really, I don't know, unethical from my perspective for them to keep charging for the same game. Skyrim. So the lighting is rebuilding, and you saw the shadow update there, I think. And so whenever you mess with the lights, you need to rebuild the lighting. And my daughter, I don't know, she put these things up here. Okay. Once upon a time, you could buy Super Mario Brothers for 25 cents. Yeah, there were like the old NES cartridges. You would be able to just pick up entire collections of them for really cheap. I still have my NES. It still works, or at least it was the last time I tried it. The batteries don't work, so the games that save, like Final Fantasy, like the last time I played through Final Fantasy 1, I had to not turn off my NES, so I just left it on for like a few days while I just played through the whole thing without saving once, which was interesting. Had to be very careful in that game. People like Nintendo's recurring minor twists on existing series. Yeah. Yeah. Replacing the battery with a lithium coin cell allowed to recharge and play. Yeah. I'm too afraid to crack it open though. NES Classic. Yeah, that's another way you can play it. Yeah. Okay. So the fog here now looks a little bit unhealthy to me. So yeah, it's not exactly the right color, I don't think. So let me change the color here. So light fog with a little bit of a blue tint is kind of a neutral-ish. Let's go all white, I guess, on this. So that's more of a neutral fog. All right, so then here's my daughter's secret garden that she built down there. Okay, so she'll come in and be like, "Daddy, can I play the game?" I'm like, sure. For my students, it's called homework, but it is kind of fun, I think. Okay, so so let's talk about a couple new things today. Let's talk about modes. And so if you guys click on the modes thing here, it'll show you the different modes you can be in for your editor. And today we're going to talk about landscape and foliage. So we're going to click on landscape, and you'll see that the landscape palette appears on the left-hand side. Where is this? This is actually too high, I think. So I'm actually going to lower this a little bit. For you guys, the default should work, but my daughter's secret garden is actually below sea level. So I'm going to actually drop the location down just below. Do you see how the mesh stops drawing once you go below it? And if it's right on, ooh, yeah, this is actually a good learning point. If you ever get a situation where two things are drawn at exactly the same distance, they'll start flickering. And this is called a Z-buffer conflict. So the Z-buffer, when doing video games, is the depth buffer, is another name for it. And that holds how far away a pixel is. Like you've drawn a square somewhere on the screen, that square there. And so that particular pixel right there is 5.0005 units away from the camera. And then that grid might also be exactly 5.005 units away from the screen. And so what happens is in CSI 45, you learn about precision and how floating point numbers will round up and round down kind of randomly. And so what will happen is that sometimes it'll, if it's trying to say which one should I draw, sometimes one of them will be on top, sometimes the other one will be on top. And if you ever, like, I don't know, put a cube out here and I'm still in it doesn't matter. If you ever like put two things directly on top of one another, then you can see flickering as it sometimes draws one of them and it draws the other one. Okay. So landscaping. So all I did was I just lowered the plane that it's drawing the landscape on to below where my daughter's secret level is, and then we're going to choose a material for it. And when you make a material for landscaping, this is actually kind of important. I'm just going to use a basic material, which is going to look like garbage. Ooh, I actually have landscape master material. That sounds promising. Let's try that. I'm going to drag that over there. Hello. Oh, froze. You guys still see me? Uh-oh, something's happening. What's going on here? Unreal Editor is at 86% CPU utilization. I don't know what just happened, but it's it's not happy about it. Not responding. It's loading it? Okay. How big is this thing? Okay, it's actually a fairly big material. So I'll let it messing with landscape materials kills the editor pretty often. Yeah. All right, I'll let it sit there for a while. It's clearly doing something. So let's talk about landscapes. So a landscape, when we generate it, I was going to put a basic material on it, which maybe I should have done because it wouldn't have killed my editor. What it is, it's a 2D plane. Like as you see here, it's a plane, and it's not actually it'll be 3D, but it's actually kind of not 3D. What it is, it's a 2D plane. Oh! Did it work? Did it work? All right. We're back. All right. Drag it over to here. Okay. Shaders compiling. All right. Again, you guys should let your shaders compile and redo your lighting prior to screenshotting, if you can. It's not the end of the world. So what landscaping is, it's a 2D surface that has a height to it. So you can think of it as like a grayscale image. You can think of it as like an image, a 2D image that's got white and black on it. And the white areas are going to be higher elevation, and the black areas are going to be lower elevation. And so what this means is you can create mountains and things like that, and it's actually very cheap to do it. It's a lot cheaper to do it that way than using meshes. But there's a downside. The downside is you can't have tunnels. You can't have, one part of the landscape over another part of the landscape, right? You can make a cliff, but you can't have the cliff overhanging something. If you want to have the cliff overhanging something, then you need to do something more than just what we're having here. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it on the defaults here. The resolution, things like that all actually matter. What does that say? Enable landscape edit layers section. So yeah, so I'm just going to hit create. I'm just going to leave it on the defaults otherwise. And then what you'll see is that you're still in the landscape tab, but now sculpt is selected over here. And what you can do, if I zoom up and out a little bit, is you can click and you can actually paint mountains, right? And so you can see them in the gloom like that. So I can just come over here and spray paint up some mountains. And the longer I hold, you can see the longer I hold, the taller and taller the mountains get until they hit the maximum height size, which is probably right over there. I don't know. Let's see if we can get even taller. No, it's still get taller. All right. Cool. And so you can spray paint around. And by default, these spray painted mountains look kind of garbage because in some areas where there's a lot of erosion, you will have very smooth mountains like this, like in Guilin in China. They will look like that a little bit. And so you can do that as a good starting place. Just kind of come up there and kind of spray paint around and create, spray paint some mountains up. Because a featureless plane looks really bad also, right? If you just have just a flat 2D plane leading off into the horizon, that looks really bad too. And so putting a little bit of, hills and stuff like that, like I'm doing, I'm just holding down the left mouse button and clicking and dragging, and you can see that looks pretty bad right there. I'm going to smooth that out a little bit. There you go. And then you can just spray paint around and just create a little bit of detail, make some happy little hills. There are no accidents. There's just there are no mistakes, just happy little accidents, right? So just make some happy little hills in the fog and stuff like that. And that's a good starting place for making something kind of interesting. They do look very weathered, right? And most places in America don't have that kind of smooth look. If you're doing sand dunes, then that's it's doable. But as it is, it's just kind of a good starting place for this kind of stuff. All right, so there we go. All right, yeah, that doesn't look bad, right? That doesn't look bad. Yeah, it's reasonable. Okay, especially if we're just going to be over here, then you just kind of look out over the horizon there. You can see there's different vistas and things like that. A lot of video games just put up a picture in the background, and the pictures look very flat and artificial, kind of like when you're watching a movie and there's a set. Very obviously a set. Something like this works better because as you move around, you can see the mountains move as well. So if I play the game, F11 to go into full screen mode, and we can come up here. Nope, fell off. Yeah, giant textures also don't look very good either. So up here, and then so you can just see kind of in the background. There's the fog isn't very accurate here, but yeah, it's a decent look. It's a decent enough starting place. Okay. Source engine mountains are predominantly smooth. Yeah, do you guys know me like Guilin? Guilin, China. So Guilin mountains look like mountains in video games, right? It's very weathered. So they have these. Yeah, the mountains are very round on top. So it's a very beautiful area. I've never been there. I was thinking about going there, but I ended up going to the Shaolin Temple instead and doing martial arts for a week instead of going to Guilin. It's probably the right move. It was a fun experience. Okay, so so you can make Guilin style mountains by just kind of doing this kind of stuff. All right, get out of full screen mode. Okay, so what other tools are there? There's smoothing, so you can click on it. So if you have like a rough edge, you can kind of smooth it down a little bit. It kind of blurs the mountains together. Flatten, you can flatten it out to make a plateau. A lot of times if you're going to have an area where there's going to be a monster or something on top of a mountain, you'll typically come up with a flatten tool, kind of flatten it out a little bit and add an arena or something on top of it. Players usually don't like fighting on rounded mountaintops, right? If it's like a pointed mountaintop, it's really kind of awkward to fight on. So in video games, we typically have flat surfaces that are areas where players should go, and we use round surfaces to indicate areas where they shouldn't go. So a hillside like this, it's pretty flat. This would be fine. But like, go back to sculpt. If you have a mountain like this, like a player is going to look at that and be like, there might be a secret up there, but I'm not going to have combat up there, right? Because it's too steep, right? It's too steep to deal with. So. All right. Yeah, so we usually use flat spaces to indicate where people can walk. Okay, table mountain casino, yeah. Right. Okay. So let's see, brush size. So you can adjust the size of the brush so that you can make smaller mountains. You can make the brush bigger. Make giant mountains. Ah. Wow, that's really good. Okay. Tool strength controls how fast it comes up and down, right? And so smoothing, flattening, ramp allows you to. Let me turn off the fog. The fog is kind of making things too hard to see. Where are you, my fog? Exponential height fog. There we go. Ew, this landscape material is garbage. Okay, so that's why I was looking all weird. Okay. Well, in that case, let's go to starter content and go to materials and just, I don't know, make it grass. Modes, pick landscape. Yeah, modes, landscape. And then where you change the materials on it? Yeah, okay, select layers. Well, I'm not going to worry about it for now. I'll figure it out later. All right, see you guys.
Okay.
Paint. Ah, yes. There we are. Okay. Manage. There we go. Oops. Select all, and then we'll just override it with grass. See if that works. There we go. That's a lot more reasonable. Okay. Yeah, I've never seen that. My daughter imported some assets into it, and so I was just like, oh, landscape material, let's try that. Oh, look right there. There's a Z buffer conflict. You guys see that? So these two walls are drawing at exactly the same height, and so it's sometimes rounding up, it's sometimes rounding down, and so class is over. No, it's not over. And so it's sometimes drawing over one, sometimes drawing over the other one. Okay, so there we go. And then let's go back into sculpt. Okay. All right. So yeah, that looks a lot more reasonable. Okay. So messing with the different kinds of fog. Oh. Select you, and just going to turn off the fog for now. There we go. Okay. And so the fog's still in the world, but I've just turned off its visibility. And so this is a common trick you can use if you want to just get a better look at stuff. In the atmospheric fog, I'm just going to delete that one. Okay. So if I want to put the fog back in, there it is. And if I want to hide it, I just uncheck visibility. Okay. So here we've got a landscape, and it's got you know, you can see how it's just like a 2D surface, right? That just has a height map on it. So every point on the landscape just contains how tall it is, and so you can make very interesting landscapes that way. Maybe not very interesting, but it's a good starting point. Okay. So let's see. Let's go back into modes, landscape. Let's see what we missed. So yeah, you can select the individual squares using this tool. Sculpt will allow you to raise and lower the different areas. Paint will allow you to change the materials on it, and yeah. And so you can paint like there's no layer info sign yet. You just sign a layer for it. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll have to make different layers. I'm not gonna worry about that now. But basically, you can have different layers of your landscaping. So you can have like a grass layer for the base thing, and you can draw on it like a dead grass, you know, zone on it that will be your path and things like that. So you can literally paint on the landscape, and you have to set up different layers for the different materials. But you can make very interesting landscapes that way without having to do anything really fancy more than that. Manage clear selection. Okay. Okay. Paint. Yeah, I need to make another layer first, but clear region selection. Hydro erosion is pretty cool. So it'll simulate rainfall on the mountains, and so you can see how the ground is kind of melting away like that. So you can have it, you know, basically simulate water in the mountains. That makes it look a little bit more realistic. This thing is way too big. Radius 1024. Okay. So you can kind of apply water erosion to your mountains to make them a little more realistic. And increase the strength as well. Yeah. And so that'll weather it. And then when you get into it, you can make landscapes that have different layers for. So rather than it all being grass, you can have a dirt layer and a grass layer and a rock layer and a snow layer, and you can make your landscapes very intelligent and things like that. Now, one thing you can do to make this interesting is you can add water to it. Let's add some noise. So noise will kind of randomly increase and decrease it, so you can make the surfaces kind of more pockmarked and things like that. So one interesting thing you can do with this is to add water. And so if I were to come to place actors and go to all classes, you can see I can add a plane here, and the texture on this is going to be garbage. Let's not do that. Do a volume, sorry, geometry box, let's go into select mode and drag out a box, and then let's see if we can do this. Make the box really big, and change the material on it to water. Drop it down. And so if you do that, then you can have water intersecting the. Yeah, that's not the best water texture in the world, but you can have water intersecting your landscape, and what that'll do is it'll create very interesting looking lakes and things like that. And so if you create a landscape with different areas of higher and lower territory, if you intersect a plane with it, then you can very quickly make a little lake. And I would pick a better material than this. The material looks fairly artificial. In the free assets store, there's all sorts of water materials, some of which are animated. So there's all sorts of really cool things you can do with it. Let's see if there's any of the starter stuff here. No, none of these look very good for water. Yeah, so I'd have to import water, and I don't want to worry about that right now. Because, did you pick fill world or create? Fill world will basically tile out to the edge of the world, and then you can hit create after that. But like I said, I'm just doing the default, so just click create, and then that'll make a landscape across your world. And that thing is not quite at the edge, is it? Move it over a little bit here. Okay, and there's a little edge right there that's peeking out. And so by doing things like that, where you intersect a plane with a curved surface like this, you can actually create fairly nice looking lakes and things like that. And let's go back into landscape mode and go to sculpt and go to erosion. So you can, as you erode things down, you see how the lake boundary changes kind of automatically. So you just sit there and play with it, and this looks pretty bad now, right? Like this looks like a very artificial boundary, and so come in here and just kind of play with it and see, what it takes to make something look good. Raising, lowering surfaces until you get something that looks kind of natural. All right, that looks fairly unnatural, right? So that's the edge of the water that I put in. Okay, so that's landscaping. There's a lot you can do with it. We'll just leave it there for now. The next thing we're going to do is foliage. So click on the foliage tab. So go to modes and click on foliage. And you will see that there is now a foliage palette here. You can click on add foliage type, or you can go into your content browser. So let's see, this flowers and plants nature pack, which again, I've never used before. My daughter added it. So I'm just going to go ahead and just drag and drop some Achillea ptarmica here. And you can see that if I click and drag, it will spread thousands and thousands of copies of that flower across the landscape. So if I were to zoom in on it now, you will see that if I walk around in this landscape, there's now 4.2 thousand copies of Achillea ptarmica, sorry for spitting, that are now on the landscape, right? And so my daughter placed all of these plants by hand, right? This is all hand planted flowers. All of these that I put out here are not. They are simply, I just clicked on one, added it to the foliage palette, and then just went, foliage tool goes brr, psh, like that, right? So if you want to make it a little more interesting, because that looks kind of bad, right? That looks kind of bad. What you can do is you can actually add multiple copies of Achillea ptarmica, so they're not all the same model, right? They're a little bit different each time. You can actually just, I'm just going to go ahead and add all of these different kinds of plants. Wow, there's a lot of them. Maybe not all of them. That's a lot of plants. Wow, that's a lot of plants. Okay, I'm just going to drag these guys up here. And maybe I shouldn't have picked so many. This is going to take a while. But basically what happens, I'll just tell you what happens, is that when you add a bunch of different models to the foliage palette, Then when you spray paint, you'll get a mix of them. And you can adjust the relative weighting of it, so you can have more of one flower than another. You can also do things that will, let's see if it'll let me click on it while it's importing. Doesn't look like it. So you can make it so that each flower comes out of a random size, right? So you can make it so that each flower is randomly 10% bigger or smaller than each other. You can make them either sticking straight upwards towards the sky, or you can make them rotate onto the surface of the hillside they're on. So you can have the trees kind of sticking straight up, or you can have the trees sticking out at a diagonal if you want. You can randomly rotate them in different directions. So the foliage palette, when you click, whenever it's done, did it finish? Yes. Did it work? Did it work? 183. Maybe I picked too many of them. Please don't crash on me, Unreal Engine. Look at that thing flickering. There we go. There we go. That's how it's done. All right. So now, whoa, what happened to the landscape? Yeah, the thing dynamically reduces the resolution when your CPU's busy, and so you saw the landscape turn into like a stair step pattern. Okay, so if I come in here and just kind of spray, oof, wow, okay, that's way too dense. Wow, my frame rate just took a massive hit. That is hilarious. Okay, so it's creating all of those flowers all at once. So let me make the density lower. Let's make the density 0.1 and the size 2048. So let's see if, click, just once. Ooh, wow. That's way too many because there's 180 of these things. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Okay, let's lower the density even more, 0.01. And let's make the brush even bigger, 4096. One click. Okay, that's a little bit better. That's a little bit better. My frame rate is still not super happy about this, though. So let's try and play this. Oh, did you feel that frame rate dip when I looked towards where the... Oh, jeez. Frame rate, no. Okay. So we're in a garden right now, right? And this isn't even all of the flowers, right? But this is a pretty damn good variety of flowers and bushes and things like that. So still too painful. Now if I get past it and look the other way, then you notice how my frame rate gets nice again. Oh, look at that. Look, I have a smooth frame rate. So there's something called viewport culling in video games, where it tries to figure out what's visible, what's not visible. And there's a very easy way of doing it. And if you just happen to be looking at the flowers, and they're, even if they're not visible, they're within the viewport frustrum. Then your frame rate will tank, right? Looks nice though. Okay, let's get out of that. Let's hit undo. And I'm going to lower the density by another factor of 100, 0.001. And I'm going to make the size even bigger. 98192. And I need more dedicated RAM. 32 gigs. Okay, that's... Okay, maybe that's okay. Frame rate's not especially happy about that. Yeah, it's still not happy. It might just be because I have 180 different types of flowers, right? Like it wasn't really tanking when I had it didn't really tank when I had 4,000 copies of one flower, but when I had all those of another flower, let's see, uncheck, select all, let's see, what's the shortcut to check it? Okay, uncheck all of them. So let's just check like 3 guys. Let's try this. There we go. There we go. No frame rate issues here. Let's turn the density back up to 0.1. There we go. All right. So I've got 30,000 flowers now. No frame rate hit. Okay. I've got flowers on my staircase now. Okay. That's funny. You know, I'm just going to delete this wall. Mode, select, click, delete, play. There we go. Don't have to run out every time. And so you can see that the world is blanketed in 30,000 flowers, and there's not much of a frame rate hit, right? It might be because it was, I don't know. Yeah. So it put one flower on top of another flower. Look at that. That's too funny. All right. So you can see it's got, oh, actually that was Ada's. Yeah, Ada put that out there. So it drew a flower on top of a flower. And so you can see it's just got a random mixture of all these different flowers that I have, the smaller ones, the bigger ones. And if you want, let's go back into, nope, not you, let's go back into the Foliage tool. And if you click on it, then you can see the density of each flower can be set individually from each other. Scaling uniform, or you can say lock, let's see, X, Y should be locked. So the Z scale you can set so that some of them are at 0.1. Actually, let's undo. Let's come over here. Undo a few times. Delete these flowers out. Okay. And so we're about out of time, but let me show you what this looks like. So uniform, let's see, lock, X, Y. So the Z scaling, let's say it can go from 0.1 to 10. On, no, 10? 10, okay. And that's on just these three guys. And so you can see, if you do that, then some of them will be, let's go back and delete you, delete mode select, delete you, mode foliage. Okay. And so if we look at it now, you can see some of these plants are going to be itty bitty, tiny, itty bitty little plants. I did this to exaggerate the effect. Some of them are going to be really tiny, and then some of them are going to be, you know, really tall, and everything in between. So there's going to be some that are this big, and some that are that big, and usually you don't make it this dramatic. This is like a very alien-like effect. But that's kind of to demonstrate the principle for you guys. It looks so terrible. But you can come in here and you can click on it and make it so that they're scaling. Usually you do something like 0.9 to like, 1.1, something like that. So there's a little bit of variety in the plants. Undo, there we go. And come back into foliage, and yeah, so if you're going to do that, then uniform scaling makes it bigger in all dimensions. If you lock the X and Y axes, then the width won't change, but with the Z scale, the Z is up and down. You can make some of them a little bit taller, a little bit shorter. Sometimes that looks a little bit better than scaling the whole thing. So they have a little bit variety of height, but not in width. And so if you do a subtle effect, it actually looks good, because it looks very alien to have every flower be, you know, exactly the same size, right? So having a little bit of variety in scaling is good. Z offset, you can have some of them be up higher than others. Align to normal means whether or not it should match the angle of the hillside. Random yaw means it'll rotate randomly. Random pitch means it'll tilt forward or backwards randomly. How much of a ground slope? So it won't go onto a vertical surface, so it won't be sticking out at the side. At most, it'll be on a 45-degree angle. And are they static or movable? You want them to be static for performance reasons. And then you can have them vanish past a certain distance as well. So, and by default, they're set to not collide. So you can just run through the foliage without running into them, right? If you turned on collision, let me delete this person up here again. If I turned on collision, let's delete and just save it like that. If I turned on collision on these flowers, then select all three of these guys. So yeah, let's add a little bit of a 0.9 as the min and a 1.1 as the max, and we'll have it fixed to the XY. Align to normal is on, random yaw is on, ground slope. Let's make it not even on that steep a slope. Let's make it on like a 30-degree slope or less. It'll snap to. It won't go on steeper things. And that cast shadow is fine. But let's turn on collisions, and this will just be funny. Block all. All right, so we'll spray paint some flowers out there. And so now when we try running through this underbrush, oh, it's not blocking anything. Okay, well, interesting. Yeah, you don't want it blocking things anyway, so we'll just leave that off. No collision. Yeah. Okay. And then, yeah, you can just see how easy that is. You can just add more flowers to your palette and just kind of spray paint them out. And in fact, you can control the density, and each of them can have their own density. So you can have some flowers appear more often than others. And you can see that these guys have slightly different heights. You see these 3 lavenders here, whatever they are. This guy is a little bit taller than these 2 guys. So it makes it a little bit more realistic looking to have some plants, not quite the same as the others. Okay, so that is our lecture for today. The main learning points for today were the landscape and the foliage tools. And I'm just going to leave those in for my daughter. There we go. Just leave those in. Let her discover it. Okay, so any questions, comments? Again, with landscapes, you're really going to have multiple textures on them, so that they don't look like a giant green surface like this. This is a very video game-ish thing to do. Just have a green mound with flowers on it. It's kind of cheap looking. In reality, you would make a landscape texture and have it. You can have different layers, and you can spray paint roads on it, and all this kind of stuff. This is the 10-cent introduction to landscapes. Okay. Any questions, Stafford, Bacalar? I'll watch the recording over and over to understand the process better. Yeah, in short, the modes. This is the main thing. You go to modes, you can click on landscape, and then you can generate a landscape, and then you can use the sculpt tools to raise and lower and erode and all that other stuff to do some kind of gross sculpting on it. There's other ways you can do this as well. Paint, so you can paint different textures on the landscape. Like I said, making roads and things like that is very easy. And then foliage, you go to the foliage tool, you just drag some meshes up into the foliage palette here, and then you can select which foliages you want to spray paint, and then you just spray paint plants onto the ground. And it's actually pretty fast most of the time. Apparently, when you spray paint 188 different types of flowers, Unreal Engine doesn't like that very much. Yeah, the Windows XP background, right? Can you edit the sides of a landscape like making a mountain into a cave? No. So if you want to do caves and bridges, like anything that violates the sort of 2D nature of it, because it's just a 2D thing. It's a spray paint. It's a black and white image is essentially all the landscape is. Then there's other tricks you have to use, right? So you can make like in Oblivion, they would just put a doorway on the mountainside, and then you walk up, you touch the doorway, and then it teleports you into a level. Right, so that's how you enter a cave in Oblivion, because the landscape is all 2D, like this. It's a 2D height map. So it's a 2D surface. It's a 2D picture that has white for the tall areas and black for the low areas, and so you can't have discontinuities like caves and like a bridge where there's 2 different levels on the same area. You can put a bridge mesh on top of it, and there's other ways you can, kind of cheat around it. But yeah, like in Oblivion, there's just a door, and you click on it, and then it teleports you into a level. So yeah, there's all sorts of tricks for doing that kind of stuff. But just the basic thing that we're covering today is just it's a 2D height map. Okay, guys. So no homework right now. I'll give you another homework on Thursday of stuff to do, but no homework right now. Just work on your board games and talk about who's going to do what in the Tabletop Simulator, and just get going on that. That'll be due in 2 weeks. Okay. So thanks for coming out, guys. Hope this was fun. Tabletop Simulator is a big homework. It is, and this is typically when students start. you know, because you actually have to do work. But you know, it's fun. You're making games, and it's a board game, so you don't have to have any technical skills. You just put pieces and make a board and put it into Tabletop Simulator. Tabletop Simulator has a place where you can put the rules in it, and that's probably a good idea. So there's a notebook, and you can put the rules of the game in there, so I can read them and understand them. But yeah, just make sure your group is all active. If any person in your group has dropped or has just gone AFK, let me know now, and we can reshuffle the groups and things like that. But as it is, we'll just go with the proposals as mentioned, and I'll look at Rivera's after class is over. Okay. So that is class for today, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the looking at each other's art on the channel, because you know, that's why I'm having you guys posted on Discord, so that you can see what each other are doing and kind of be inspired by it and stuff like that. So, and also, so you have kind of an idea of what other people are doing and what level of artwork is expected of you, and you know, stuff like that. Okay. So I think it's fun to post it on Discord if you guys agree or not. Let me know. Okay. Can you check your pitch? Yeah, I'll do it right now. All right, so I'm going to sign up for now. Rivera, don't go anywhere. I'll read over your pitch. Okay? All right, I'll see you guys on Thursday. Good job, everyone.